Well, hello, everybody. We are live again. I don't have my microphone over here. Holy cow. Here we go. Welcome to another beautiful edition of Ask Me Anything. Sorry we missed you last week. We were having our open house here at the New Revolution Mortgage office in downtown Coeur d'Alene. It was beautiful. It was fun. It was exciting. Had a balloon wall and killer tacos by Chef Larry. Huge shout out to Chef Larry. But today we are back for another Ask Me Anything. Fire away. I'm going to put in here, fire those questions away. Okay, so we're going to talk about something today that came up yesterday, and now it's today, and Thursday is the day that we talk about interesting things. I have been in the mortgage industry for 24 years now, talking to people, and I was always having these conversations with buying agents. Yeah, get your guys pre-approved, get your clients pre-approved, make sure that they're ready to go and make that offer. And here in the last few years, I've really kind of been talking more to listing agents. And I had the opportunity yesterday to host a lunch at the Realtor Association. And they were specifically seller representative agents, right? So they're taking those listings. And I said, do me a favor. In parting, as I'm leaving, I'm saying, hey, I got to ask you all a favor. We know it's important to get that buyer pre-approved. Will you ask during your listing presentation for your listings? So if you're looking to sell a house, take very close note of this. Ask your listings if you're getting pre-approved for their next mortgage, right? So here's how it goes. I'm the agent, you're selling a house, right? Hey, Mr. Mrs. Seller, your next transaction, you're selling here, you're selling in Coeur d'Alene and you're moving to, let's call it Utah, Salt Lake City, right? In Salt Lake City, are you going to be an all cash buyer or are you going to get a mortgage for that new house? So why is this important, right? Let's stop and ask ourselves why this is so desperately important. Sellers become buyers. Buyers have to be pre-approved unless they're all cash. And it's a very common misrepresent. No, I don't want to say misrepresent. It's a very common missed detail, right? Devil's in the details. It's a missed detail in listing presentations. And if you're looking to sell your house, make sure that you can buy your next one before you sell your house. There is nothing worse. Here's how this goes, right? Okay, you go to sell your house. We get it under contract. Congratulations, you're going to sell your house. The buyers are super excited to move into this neighborhood and you're off to your next thing. Oh, your next thing is buying a house with a mortgage? Well, have you talked to a mortgage lender about your qualifications, right? And then all of a sudden that mortgage lender says, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller. Guess what? Because you wrote everything off or because you had a collection that you didn't even know that was a collection that tanked your credit score, you actually don't qualify for a mortgage to make your next jump as a buyer. So now what? Where does that put you? The seller of your home, right? That puts you up what I call the proverbial creek without a paddle. And so that is my 411 today. I asked this group of agents, I said, hey, is getting your sellers pre-approved for their next transaction, if it's going to be mortgage financing, financed, is that part of your listing presentation? It was not. It was not part of their listing presentations. Not a single hand went up in that room yesterday that said, yes, part of my listing presentation is getting my seller who will turn into a buyer who needs a mortgage, a pre-approval. So do me a favor, all you agents out there that are listing houses, please add that to your script. Please add that to your listing presentation. For all of you that are getting ready to sell your house, or maybe your house is out there on the market right now and you're making that move to another city, another part of the city, or another state, please go out and get pre-approved before you find yourself up that creek without that paddle. So that's my mortgage tip of the week. Wanted to share that with you. I do have a question here that I'm going to pull up. It's very, very passionate to me, because if you're a seller and you're selling and you're under contract and you can't make the next move, that's a tough day. Okay, so we have a question. Joanna said, if Fed is holding rates, what are mortgage rates expected to rise, or will they rise? Right? That's a great question. So the Fed is playing this really nasty tennis match right now of, should we increase rates? Should we not increase rates? What does the federal funds rate look like? So a couple things on rates. Number one, the number one rate indicator that will have an impact on long-term mortgage rates is the inflation number and the CPI number. If those two continue to start trending down, we went down and then we plateaued again, and now we're starting to go back down. If inflation numbers can go down and recede a little bit, you'll see mortgage rates recede as well, right? It can be independent of the Federal Reserve coming out and saying next time that they meet, hey, next time we meet, let's jack it up another 0.25%, another 0.5%. So the big number, not necessarily the federal funds rate that we need to watch, is the inflation number. Obviously, if the inflation number continues to push up, the Federal Reserve will then be compelled to continue to push rates higher because of inflation, right? So we are seeing some economic indicators as far as continuation of new unemployment claims, continuation of, this is a little redundant, continuation of continued claims in unemployment. They're starting to get longer in the tooth as opposed to finding employment again. So those things are going to have a big impact. Now, one thing that does have a huge impact when the Feds come out and said, hey, we're going to jack up those interest rates, they also jack up the prime rate. And the prime rate is directly tied to all your all's credit cards and all your home equity lines of credit. So for all of you that have either plastic or you have a second mortgage in the form of a home equity line of credit, you are seeing a point for point increase every time they take that interest rate up. You're seeing that payment go up as well. I myself have a HELOC. When I first got it, it was in the high fives. It has now climbed up just over 11%. So it is a very interesting time as far as second mortgages and consumer debt. So I don't know exactly how that's going to play out as far as the Fed. They're giving a lot of mixed signals. I think they're very split right now. A couple of the federal chairs are saying, yes, we need to kick that up at least another point. Some of them are saying, hey, we've done enough. Let's just chill out, kick up our legs and see what happens with this, kick up our feet and let's see what happens with this whole situation that we've jacked up rates already. So rate increases take time to play out in the economics on a macro level. So we just need to play it out. So, this is a great question. I love this question. Do you think the impending commercial real estate crash is going to bleed into residential sector? I'll say this right now. Office space commercially is on its lips. And it is a direct product of COVID and being at home during the 2 years. The majority of America was working remotely, had the opportunity to either work from home or find a beach somewhere and just kick it with some internet and do their work. And we're seeing, to very little success, we're seeing these big corporations coming back and laying down the hammer and saying, hey, we got to get you back into the office. We got to get you back into the office. And we've also seen some mid-sized companies and small companies saying, hey, this last 2 years in 2020 and 2021, we've made proof through doing it that we can run our business from home, right? We don't need an office space. We don't need typically the second largest expenditure on somebody's balance sheet behind employees is real estate costs, lease costs, right? So you're seeing a lot of companies do one of two things. They're either downsizing or they're completely eliminating their need for office space. Retail space is also seeing some headaches and some pain points just based off of the 2 years in COVID. Everybody bought everything online, right? So I do see a systematic problem in this, in the fact that a lot of our retirement funds, our pension funds, 401ks, and mutual funds are tied to large REITs, right? Real estate investment trusts that have heavily invested those dollars, those our money into office space, into retail space, which is having a tough go right now. As far as how will that play out in the residential market, I don't think that there's going to be a huge correlation, in my personal opinion. I think what will have a bigger impact and a much longer impact will be where the rates continue to go and the Fed's fund rate, as well as inflation. So we got it from OPEC that they're going to lower their production. So oil came down a lot in price, and now it's going to go back up in price. So it's really more inflation oriented and rate oriented as far as that is concerned to have a bigger impact on the residential market, in my opinion. You know as well as I do in the financial sector. I'd be curious what you would think to that point, but I don't necessarily see it having a huge impact on the residential market. So I think employment and where our rates are going to continue to go, whether that's trending downward or upward, will have a bigger long-term impact on the real estate market from a residential standpoint. What I'd really love to see, on a total sidebar, I would really love to see some of these places like Portland and Seattle that are experiencing some very high vacancies in their office space. These office buildings be converted into housing. These markets are desperate for extra housing, and you have some pre-existing structures with some pretty cool square footage that they can turn into residential real estate. So maybe that's our pivot. I don't know. Do you think the banks losing their income stream from interest payments on those commercial loans will try to recoup it by points and fees in the retail residential world? Yeah, they're going to have to come up with some sort of fee structure, whether that's increasing your ATM fees or some sort of processing fee. I'll tell you this. I love what Warren Buffett said after the mortgage meltdown in 2008. He's heavily invested. In 2008, no, it was more like late 2009, 2010. Warren Buffett comes out and says, "Hey, I am investing heavily in the banking industry, because if there's one industry that knows how to get money back, it's the banking industry." So there'll be a blip on the radar, and then they'll figure out another way to get their money back, because I don't see a lot of places where the bank loses out on a long-term stretch. So what fur baby is there with you? What fur baby? What? Neither fur baby are in the office today. Are you saying, is it because my desk is wiggling? If that's the case, it's just me putting my hands on my desk. I'm standing up right now. So no fur babies in the office, no puppies. Oh, sounded like a bark. Oh, Jamie, more than likely it was one of the Harleys that frequent the Lakeside Avenue here. Yes, it was probably one of those. Joanna, contributing once again. Seattle has just had a design contest. Yes! Oh, Joanna, do you have a link to that? I would love to read that article or wherever that is. But yes, that is where I think we could definitely see some huge quick gains in the residential market and inventory. Is these major cities that have empty office buildings, literally empty office buildings, flip them over. Let's get some people in there to live there, and that will reinvigorate the downtown. It will help a lot of those things. That'll be great. Yes, thank you, Joanna. I would love to see that article, because I've been saying it. I will find it. I'll go back to, I want to say it was like either May. I think it was mid-May of 2020. Stacy and I were doing our Real Estate Now show. I said the number one change that COVID will have long-term will be the office landscape. The office landscape as we know it will be completely revamped as a result of this. So here we are now in 2023, and definitely we are seeing the aftermath and the fallout of that. And I hope we can just be smart as a society and as these municipalities pivot from that vacancy of offices to uh, possibilities of residential real estate, because that'd be super cool. But there you go. Any other questions out there? Okay. Well, I will say this. This is our last show in spring, right? Next show will be the first show in summer. So all of summer, I've broken out a few Hawaiian shirts, but going forward for the rest of the summer, you will see me strictly in Hawaiian shirts. Today was a little bit chilly, so I wore my sweater. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to throw them in the comments below. And I'd love to have this as a resource. If you found that this show today was of great benefit, go ahead and share it out there. Like it, comment it, share it, and look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday at 1 o'clock. And we'll catch you all later. Have a great week, and we'll see you in summer.